Good afternoon. Welcome to St. Paul's. My name is Abby Hockey, and I am the Director of Music, and I want to welcome you here on this dreary day, but we're about to change that in here. We are so excited to have Opus 216 back with us. They performed on our series last year, although it was in March of this year, but the last season year, and today is a whole different vibe of American composers. If you need the restroom, there is one out the side door. There are several across the hallway, and there are some down the stairs in the back. I want to say thank you to all of our sponsors, but especially Bob and Patty Long, who sponsored today's concerts. We are able to offer them at no cost through the generosity of our donors, and so I'm very grateful for that. There'll be a reception afterwards, just across the hall. That we have some sweets and some drinks, and they will have CDs for sale. So if you are looking for a Christmas gift, that is sure to please. I'm planting the seed now. Our series takes a little break for the holidays. Our next concert's in February, and we'll be hosting Emery Stevens, who is Assistant Professor of Voice at St. Olaf College in St. Paul, Minnesota. So we're very excited to have him with us. But there's so much good music coming up this holiday season. The last Sunday of this month, we host the Madrigal Singers from Firestone High School during worship, which is at 10 a.m., and they're spending the day with us. They're offering a feast of charcuterie and confections. So you can come back at 4 p.m. and there'll be a boar's head and charcuterie and desserts, and they will do a madrigal feast with singing and revelry and all those sorts of things. And then on December 7th, the next week, we're participating in the Massillon Candlelight Walk, and we will have music here from 5 to 7 p.m. Our choir will sing. We'll have various instrumental and vocal soloists. Our bell choir will ring. And if you're in the area and you walk the tour, we hope that you will stop in and see us. And with that, Opus 216.
Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. My name is Ariel Karras, and we were here in March, like Abby said. The really fun thing is that even our picture shows like lots of different instruments and configurations, and that's really what our ensemble is about. And so in March, we had our percussionist and a little bit of a different setup, and today we wanted to bring a collection of music by American composers, but not just classical. So we're starting actually in the early jazz season, if you see on your program, and we're going to work our way backwards in the first half. So we're starting with Fats Waller. We're going to do the first two tunes back to back that he wrote. You'll know them if you love his music, Ain't Misbehavin' and Honeysuckle Rose, just two icons. The great things about Fats Waller are that of all the jazz composers in that time period, he was one of the most successful in his lifetime, wildly adored, super successful from Harlem. And when he died at a very young age in his mid-30s, the line for his service like stretched halfway across Harlem, they said, just blocks and blocks. So truly a beloved early jazz composer, and we hope you enjoy our renditions of Ain't Misbehavin' and Honeysuckle Rose. Thank you. So we kicked it off with Fats Waller, so that would have been 1920s jazz, and we're going to go still in the 20s, 1929, Jimmy Johnson and Cecil Mack. And you could almost say that the Charleston is a holiday song because it's a Wonderful Life, which was always like my icon of the season growing up, even as a kid. So we actually put Ain't Misbehavin' and the Charleston on our very first album when we wanted to do kind of a multi-genre smattering of stuff. So we've been playing this tune for a little while, a couple years. How about that bass solo from Alex Carroll, everybody? Alex just joined our ensemble in the last, I don't know, what was your first, well, actually, you started playing weddings with us last winter. So Alex started subbing in with us. He's a graduate student at the Cleveland Institute of Music, where I'm the career advisor. And so, I don't know, you fell into my orbit, and I said, hey, we need a bass sub for a few things, and man, this kid can play. You're not a kid, you are a grown-up, but it's amazing. He's been a really, really fun part of our ensemble. And then Victor Bayan's here on second violin, but you'll see him on first quite a bit this afternoon. Trevor Kazarian on cello, you'll hear a solo a little bit later. And then Brian Slata on viola. The inimitable Brian Slata. So we're going to give Victor and Brian a break for just a hot second, and we're going to do a piece by Scott Joplin. So if we kind of go backtracking in jazz, sort of the jazz predecessor, let's say, is ragtime. And so Scott Joplin is sort of known as the father of ragtime, and he was born not far from my hometown of Dallas in a city called Texarkana, because it's on the Texas-Arkansas border, so I know it well. And he was born in Texarkana, Arkansas, was the child of railroad workers, and as a black man in the South, post-Civil War, that was not an easy place to be. He found his way to the North and ended up at the Chicago World's Fair in 1897. I think that was when the big Chicago World's Fair was, and he brought music he had been writing that was later called ragtime because it's got these kind of jagged edges. You'll notice in this style of music, it's not melodic. It's really angular, and it's a lot of fun to play for that reason. Some of his most famous works, besides the Maple Leaf Rag, which we chose, we're in Ohio, and it's the fall, is The Entertainer. If you grew up playing piano or knowing it, everyone sort of knows The Entertainer. But Scott Joplin died, again, like Fats Waller, really young, but he wrote 44 rags, I think 2 operas and a ballet. And that's all that we have of his. But really, his works launched early jazz, because we could not have had early jazz without ragtime. So this is the Maple Leaf Rag. You know Joplin. Yes, we all know Joplin. We love Joplin. I think he is one of the most underplayed composers, and we're in this kind of resurgence. Every time like a genre, I think, hits the 100-year mark, people have a renewed interest. And so there's been a lot of interest in like 1920s jazz. And I would love to see even more enthusiasm towards the pre-jazz ragtime, because I think it's just really fun to play and a little stressful. So moving backwards from ragtime, we have George Gershwin. And I guess he's sort of a contemporary in terms of this composition. But in terms of age, he was a little bit preceded. And Gershwin wrote many of the works that we know when we think of iconic American music. So Rhapsody in Blue, right? Like huge, huge works. And a lot of them are jazz-centered or for orchestra. And then all of his songs and the American Songbook and musical work. And he wrote exactly one piece for string quartet. It's just one, and it's this lullaby that we're about to play you. And the beautiful thing about this piece that's really fun for us is that we're going to put on mutes. So mutes on string instruments are these tiny little kind of rubbery plastic things that we'll put on top of our bridge. They kind of dampen the sound. They give it a different color. And with this piece, they make it a little bit dreamy. So hope you enjoy Gershwin's only piece ever written for string quartet that we know of, his lullaby. It's like someone fell asleep and then almost got woken back up at the very end, right? Us included. All right, so Victor and I are going to switch spots, I think, and we're going to do a really special piece for us because we've played some of this repertoire a number of times. Like I said, our jazz pieces have been in our orbit for a while, and they're on our albums. But this next piece by Florence Price was brand new to us, or almost all of us, this week, and we've worked it up just for you all. When we were kind of researching and discussing this program and the kind of music we wanted to put on it, and you know, there's a lot of, not, I wouldn't say like easy choices when it comes to American music. But truthfully, there are some really fantastic female composers and underrepresented composers throughout our history in American classical music. And Florence Price is one of them. She was a late Romantic African-American composer, also from Arkansas, like Scott Joplin. She was from Little Rock. And I believe she was born in about the late 1860s, so just after the Civil War. And she is the first Black female composer in the United States, in Western classical music, to have a large work performed by an orchestra. So she was really a trailblazer, and it's remarkable. She lived all the way to the early 50s, and she composed a ton of music. And then even after her life, a number of additional works were found. And so this string quartet that we're about to perform for you is only 2 movements because it's actually an unfinished string quartet that she wrote in G major. There's another really well-known quartet in A major that she composed, but this one is considered unfinished. A lot of chamber music is going to be 4 or 5 movements even, sometimes larger works, and this one's only 2. But you'll hear a lot of the same kinds of sounds that you hear in Gershwin and other composers later. And so you just think, wow, this woman was writing this music at the turn of the 20th century, and it's really beautiful. Excited to share it with you. This is Florence Price's String Quartet in G. I should have mentioned believe we'll take a short break now, and we'll see you again in a few minutes. Thank you so much. Sorry, I don't know how to mute it. Where's the mute button? Is it on the bottom? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have checked it before I started. I felt so clumsy.
You're good. Thank you for being here today. I know that there are a couple different musical options going on in Massillon today, but I'm so glad you came here to hear this wonderful string quintet, and it's been a wonderful hearing them last year and even more wonderful this year, so I'm glad to have them here. If you'd like to know more about upcoming concerts and other events in our Cathedral Concert Series, most of you should have received a little white card. Some of it's just kind of letting us know how you found out about our concerts, but also if you put on your email, I promise we will not spam you like 100 other places do, but we will send out information about upcoming concerts to all of you if you just filled out this card and put it in our offering plate here in a minute. I would like to invite our ushers forward to collect kind of a free will offering. We're very excited the last couple of years to be sponsored not only by our members like the Longs here for our concert today, but also the Ohio Arts Council has been sponsoring our concerts the last couple of years. So I wanted to say a thank you to them as well. Also, if you are interested in our charcuterie feast, our magical feast here at the end of the month, Carol, if you wave your hand, there you go, will be in the lounge following our concert for the reception, and she will have the tickets there for that. It is $20 for adults and $10 for children, but it'll be a wonderful evening of song and madrigals, and if you've ever heard the Akron Firestone Madrigal Group, they are absolutely fantastic as well, and I know that you'll have a wonderful afternoon of music. Again, thank you for being here today. Again, if you do need to use the restroom for a few minutes, there is just a single bathroom right outside that entrance. Probably the next easiest ones are just going down the hallway up the stairs, and you'll see the bathrooms on the left there across from our lounge. Again, thank you for being here today.
Okay. So I'm really excited about this next piece because I've performed here for you all on a couple of Sunday mornings with Abby, and then at our first concert, Abby and I did a piece together, and I asked this time around if we could do something else. And so whenever I sent Abby the program, and it was all American composers. You actually found this piece. And so I was thinking like a French piece because I played, we did WC together the last Sunday morning I was here. And Abby found this Berceuse written by Amy Beach. And Amy Beach, like Florence Price, was a late romantic female American composer. She was from New Hampshire. Lived and worked mostly on the East Coast in her lifetime, and passed away in New York City. So she really was kind of an East Coast composer, and also one of the first female composers performed by a major symphony orchestra. So another really great trailblazer. And like Florence Price, and less like the other kind of jazz-inspired composers early in our program, this is going to have that really sentimental, late romantic style to it that almost feels like a hug. So this is a Berceuse by Amy Beach. I did learn how to work this microphone at intermission, and I got the microphone stand. So save all the awkwardness for the first half. Okay, so I'm really excited about this next piece because we are going to perform an entire string quartet for you by Philip Glass. It is around 17 minutes in length, and it's in 5 sections or 6 sections. And it's based on a Japanese, well, no, it's not based on, it is scoring from a film from the 1980s. It was a Japanese noir film, kind of art piece called Mishima, A Life in 4 Parts, and it was about a sort of political rebel in Japan in the 70s who, I mean, it's a little gruesome how it all ends, of course, but this is music that was used for film, because if you know anything about Philip Glass, he is an incredible American living composer who has scored everything from really avant-garde operas like Akhenaten, to film scores like The Truman Show in the 90s, and you've heard his music in all sorts of settings. And the ideas behind his music can really be summed up with minimalism, and so he's your kind of iconic American minimalist composer. So minimalism is going to be so different than jazz and so different than the late romantic sounds you've heard up until now. The ideas with minimalism is very singular, simplified, repetitive melodies that are introduced and reworked over and over. And so throughout this piece, you're going to hear sort of common themes coming back, but there's not going to be a lot of change. If you're not familiar with this style, it might feel a little different for you than other music you've heard in a concert. Also in minimalism, you'll get something called hemiolas a lot, where you have a piece in 4, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, but then you're going to start hearing triplets against it, like a 3 against 4 or a 6 against 4, a da, 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 da. So you're going to hear a lot of rhythmic play with his ideas in this music. I say all that because maybe you're all Philip Glass experts and you can lecture me at the after party next door. But really, this is remarkable music in my opinion. And some of his other works are more varied, but this is about as minimalistic as you're going to get. So here we go with his 3rd string quartet, Mishima, A Life in 4 Parts. And with these movements, some of these we're going to do attacca, meaning we're going to do just almost no pause in between, and some of them we're going to pause to regroup and set the tempo. But with this experience, I'd actually recommend I won't do any more talking, thank goodness, and you can hold any applause, which is also totally optional for the end. So here we go. All right, so we have three very short pieces to close the program. And before we do our final two ensemble numbers, we're actually going to have our cellist Trevor do a solo work that he'll just say something briefly about, because it's actually very similar to a minimalistic style that you just heard with the Philip Glass. And I just want to say while he gets ready that it's always been a dream of mine to perform that piece in a cathedral like this because the acoustics make it so much more magical for us. So thank you for giving us that opportunity this afternoon. That was really special just now. All right, you ready, bud? Almost, he's almost ready. Actually, so Trevor's about to plug his cello into a loop pedal, if you've never seen that before. A little bit of technology our lives are ruled by these days. Even string players with our iPads and Bluetooth pedals. Pickup mics and loop boards. Say something?
Hello, everyone. So I wrote this piece, I think 7 years ago. And when I wrote it, I was looking out to the lake. And so it is a minimalistic piece, and it was a piece that I did because I had just gotten a loop pedal. So I was wanting to mess around with it, and I came up with this one simple chord progression, and you'll see in the song I keep building off of that and layering on top of it. And when I wrote it, I was picturing waves crashing on top of one another, so it feels like, layers. Okay, this is Hope.
All right, this is the final time I'll speak with you today. We're going to do a soundscape now. These are really short improvisations, and we decided to do this right before Hoedown. And I think we're going to call it a Western soundscape. We've brought you American minimalism today. We've brought you jazz. We've brought you ragtime. We've brought you American late romantic female classical composers. And so maybe the one thing left that we've missed is like the Wild West. Well, no, there's an infinitely number of things we've missed, right? In the United States, we have so many different cultures and backgrounds, and we could have gone for 6 or 7 or 12 hours with all sorts of other genres too. But we're going to do Aaron Copland's Hoedown to close from his ballet Rodeo. And the improvisation we're going to do before that, we're just going to say it's Western inspired. We don't even know what that means. We haven't done it yet. So we just wanted to say thank you so much for listening, for sticking this out with us on a cold, rainy, dreary November day. This is such a gift to be here, and would love to say hi to you all in the reception, and we'll have our albums there. And many of the pieces you heard today are on our first album especially. So here we go, and thanks for listening.
Thank